What it do, homies? Just came across my homepage. It is by Gotham Paladin called "Could Batman Stop the Squid Game Operation?" Well, with enough prep, right? It's kind of like the saying for Batman when he's put up against anything. But assuming he made it into the Squid Games, that means he went in voluntarily. And Batman is known for, thinking of things on the spot. So I thought the title and the subject was interesting. Let's go ahead, shut up, turn it up.
You're a killer, a psychopath. I will stop you.
What if Batman was in the Squid Game universe and investigated the Frontman and his whole Squid Game operation? What would happen? So Squid Game Season 2 recently came out at the time of this video. This video will spoil Season 1 and 2 of Squid Game. So
I've seen it all.
You are warned right now that I'm going to spoil the show. So I thought this would be a really great video idea. How would Batman go about taking out the Squid Game operation? So just a quick synopsis if you don't know what Squid Game is and don't care to watch it. It's a really popular Netflix show. So this show has this guy who wears a suit and black mask who's named the Frontman. He has an army of these pink jumpsuit soldiers and they all reside in some secret island. They lure people around the South Korea area who are in crippling debt and take them to this island where they compete in games. The Frontman and his army tell the contestants here that the more games they win, they get a huge money prize. What they don't tell these contestants is that if they lose the games, they die. They shoot them. The show revolves around the main character whose name is Gi-hun, who tries to stop these games because they are cool, and he witnessed all the trauma of watching his friends and all these other people die while he won the games in Season 1. We watched the show from his point of view as he tries to take down the Squid Game operations in Season 2. But what if Batman was thrown into the mix? Could Batman stop the Squid Game operation and the Frontman once and for all? Let's go ahead and start the video topic. What if Batman was in the Squid Game universe? Subscribe or I'll delete my channel. Okay, so yeah, the question, could Batman stop the Squid Game operation? Yes. Yes, he would. I mean, just realistically and logically thinking about it, if there were to be a story about Batman going against the Squid Game operation, the story would have Batman just win, logically speaking, right? I mean, that's how hero stories do things, but the process here is what's really interesting, and it's the process here that I want to talk about and how difficult it would be for Batman, because the Frontman is shown to be, I think, just as, if not more cunning, than some of the villains that gives Batman trouble back in Gotham City. The Frontman is shown to be extremely cunning, sneaky, dangerous. He has spies all around South Korea and wherever. He knows when someone is trying to get to him.
Traps too.
A good example of this is how in Season 2, where Gi-hun is planning to kill the Frontman, but the Frontman knew this the entire time, and he had a sniper in the city take out the vehicles with the guys Gi-hun hired to protect himself. And the reason he knows about things like this is how much influence the Frontman has in the city. In Season 2, there's a man at the docks that's been taking one of the supporting characters out to help them find the island on ships where the Squid Games are held. But it turns out that he is most likely an employee of the Frontman since he's shown to sabotage the operation. The Frontman has eyes and ears everywhere. He's dangerous. The games themselves are so meticulously crafted.
And honestly, to tell you the truth, Gung-Ho, he should have known that with the pool and the influence and everything, that he wasn't going to be able to get the drop on him, even if he tried his best, right? He should have known that. I mean, of course, it's not going to stop him from trying and everything, but as I was watching this, that's one thing that just kept reoccurring in my mind. I'm just like, he's always going to be one step ahead of you, right? And as we've seen with the fishermen, you got people playing for the other team that you think that's your friends and everything. So everywhere, eyes everywhere. Well, in this case, he didn't know that because he was with the whatever.
Crafted as well. He's just scary. His identity is concealed. His power and army behind him is something that I think would give Batman some trouble. The dude's a straight up supervillain. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. Now, let's just set up the premise. What if Batman was somehow in the South Korea area and was aware of all these people dying, never to be seen again? So maybe this starts off with Batman hearing about the reports from the characters about the Squid Games and how they play life and death games there. The police in the show don't believe these people that were part of the Squid Games, but Batman would. Batman would investigate and slowly take down the Squid Game operation. And yeah, I think the story would be like, I don't think Bruce would ever actually enter the games to take it down that way because 1, he has no reason to. 2, they would never contact Bruce anyway since he's rich. And 3, It's much easier for him to be Batman and take them down from the inside like that.
Okay, so that just completely killed my theory. I mean, you just laid it out, made me feel like an absolute dummy. It does make more sense for him to infiltrate, right? Okay.
Let's just set up the scenario on how I would think Batman would close in on the Frontman and his pink jumpsuit army and take down the Squid Games. I mean, honestly, the scenario could be anything, right? This is just my hypothetical. Did I use that right? Anyways, Batman somehow is aware of what's going on in South Korea about these people being abducted and vanishing. Batman visits and investigates what's going on. I'd say that he probably investigate the cop character in the show first, who's been telling the police about the Squid Game operations as well as the other reports of people saying the same thing, but the police just never believe them. Because remember, in season 1, the Squid Game contestants got to leave after a vote. Maybe outside of Gihan, there's other survivors out there Batman can find as well to learn more and ask, questions from them. But anyways, he would gather information from those people. He probably would visit them as Batman and ask them about everything they know, so they would tell him. They would probably tell him about the layout and games they played, but what I think would be most important are the pink jumpsuit guys. As we see in Season 2 of Squid Game, the pink jumpsuit dudes do roam around the city when the time of the games are nearing. On top of that, Batman would also likely find out about the recruiter, the guy that makes them play this flipping game. Now, in this whole process, could the Frontman possibly find out about Batman's investigation and prepare? I think so. I think it's entirely possible. The Frontman knew about Gihan's antics.
Oh, okay, yes, but we also know that Batman has access to an incredible amount of tech, right? So I imagine that if he did get a lead, him down in his Batcave, he might be able to do much more just from a surveillance or reconnaissance without even actually visiting places. You know what I mean? So from taking like the movies and the cartoons, I mean, like say he is a billionaire, and I'll say I don't even think. Okay, we'll keep going.
And prepare. I think so. I think it's entirely possible. The Frontman knew about Gihan's antics, and he's written to be extremely prepared in covering his tracks. He has spies everywhere, like I said, and he's prepared at all times. Batman asking around too much could be dangerous, but I think Batman would be careful about it. I think Batman gathering intel is like Batman one-on-one, right? I think he'd be smart on going about it to not arouse suspicion. We also find out
because he is a detective, you know what I mean, for the most part, a detective with a whole bunch of high IQ, marshaled out billionaire detective. That's why I was thinking he wouldn't ask questions. He would just do a whole bunch of surveillance with his crazy amount of tech.
Squid Game Season 2 that the guards in the pink jumpsuits are actually just desperate people that turn to being a guard because they have nowhere else to turn. Like the female guard we follow in Season 2, she's like living in her car. She just got out of North Korea. The Squid Game job gives them security and a place to stay in a way. And we find out in Season 2 that there's a ton of soldiers, like a lot of them. And they're all armed, organized, and have the advantage of knowing their terrain like the back of their hand.
So let me know something, guys. How do they go about choosing, who's going to be a player, who's going to be a soldier? That must be a different recruiting standpoint or whatnot. Or maybe they just take not necessarily people in depth, because I'm trying to think about that woman situation. I don't remember if she was able to make money. She just wanted information and everything. So maybe they target people who have a different type of battle. You know what I mean? That isn't always money motivated.
If Batman wants to fight these guys, he has to kind of know that there's a ton of armed soldiers in there. The Frontman and his traps and schemes are also a thing he has to worry about, and a whole island filled with mechanical doohickeys and whatnot. He has to watch out for all of that. And also, if even one of those guys go missing, the Frontman will notice. So because of that, I think Batman will watch these jumpsuit guys from afar at first, and after gathering all the information he needs, he'll follow them to the island. Batman is a master of stealth. He can easily follow these guys with his bat boat, his bat wing with stealth mode, even just jumping aboard whatever ship they use or transportation and just hiding there. I think as far as information goes that I think Batman could get, it all honestly depends on the timing. Let's say Batman investigates after Season 1. Then Batman can track down Gihan, and Gihan knows a lot more information than the typical Squid Game contestant would. I think in a general sense, Batman would know that there's the Frontman, the Jumpsuit Army, a huge base where the games are played with a very unique layout, like this playground area with stairs, and so many floors and things to look out for. A bunch of automatic weapons too, and death traps as well.
Ultimately, he also can probably trace disappearance of people. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not sure with the Squid Games, because I don't think it's ever, said how long they go when they're participating, how long they go before recruiting people and everything. Now we do know that it was once every couple of years or whatnot, but it takes a while to find these type of people. So he probably would have narrowed that down and found some information from either one of the players, or maybe found some type of connection between families with missing people, and then got some more information, maybe tried to follow the trail using CCTV, find a game master, stuff like that, track him down.
Also, I think Batman would have to go when the Squid Games are actually occurring, because I don't think the Frontman and all these soldiers are there year round, right? Like, I think they're just only there when the Squid Games are happening. Like, they don't live there. They're only there for the games. I could be wrong on this. I have no idea, but perhaps Batman goes there during the games. That's the scenario here. Now, okay, Batman's on the island. How does Batman take down this operation? I mean, Batman is an amazing fighter, but in this scenario, he's by himself. And as we see, there are so many soldiers. I don't know number-wise, but the season finale of Season 2 showed that there was a
Hundreds.
ton of them dying by Yi Hun's rebellion, but even after, there was still a ton of soldiers that just kept coming. I think what Batman would do is try to learn more about what's going on inside the actual island first and foremost, and then maybe send proof of the island to the police after he's done taking down the whole operation, so that the police can finally believe it, and Batman would also send the coordinates for the location and all that stuff, right? On top of that, I think Batman would like to learn more about the layout of the Squid Game base, as well as what the pink jumpsuit guys do, their ranks, where their frontman is, and everything in between.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense, because think about Batman is that he always got a plan A, plan B, and a plan C. So I'm really interested in how long it will take for him to prep this, because if he does decide to kind of infiltrate while the game is beginning, he obviously doesn't have all day long. But again, he does have a high IQ. So plan A, plan B, and C might happen in just like 30 minutes, and he spends the rest of his prep time making, the rest of the alphabet plans.
What I think is possible that Batman would do is take down one of the guys in the jumpsuits and take their clothes and gear and blend in as one of the pink jumpsuit guys. Similar to what the detective did in Season 1, he would take a day or two to understand everything. Maybe not even a day or two, maybe less than that. And during this time, I can imagine Batman starting to sabotage the area. I'm talking like putting gadgets to mess with the security cameras, place explosive gel around places, place trackers, prep time. Prep time.
Mhm.
Prep the place for when he takes everyone out in the
Mhm.
area. One thing I think could be an issue or dilemma for Batman is timing. The longer Batman takes, the more time people could die
Yeah,
if
yeah.
the games keep going on each day. More people will die because of those games, and Batman has to save as many as he can, right? I don't know.
Yeah, see, I'm glad we have arrived to the same point, right? If he decides to infiltrate, obviously time's going to be away. So it's obviously a race against time. Batman isn't the first person that's in this situation. In the Batman universe, there's always people's lives, and he always finds like some type of plan. So it might not be that big of a deal, but obviously people's lives are being ruined or whatnot. And another thing, it also depends on his understanding of how the game works. You know what I mean? How much of that information he can get from the inside, because he has to arrive to the conclusion that people are dying inside it before he even begins it. Otherwise, he's just wasting time.
Each day, more people will die because of those games, and Batman has to save as many as he can, right? I don't know if Batman would allow a game to go on and watch people die. I think he would try to stop those games before anything can occur.
Mm.
So because of that, I think Batman would work really fast in setting up his plan before a game could take place, so that Batman doesn't have to stop that game. Maybe Batman arrives on the island after the first game, which is red light, green light, or maybe he shows up days before the games even begin. And honestly, Batman would likely show up days before. That way, he doesn't have to worry about the games going on, and he can take down the Squid Game operation before it even begins. It can honestly go a lot of ways. Like, it's all theoretical at the end of the day,
Mhm.
right? The timing of when Batman infiltrates the island, like, it could be any point. But that is something to take note of, and I could see that as a potential plot point for this kind of storyline. I think possibly at this point, the frontman could be suspicious about Batman. Would he think that the actual Batman is on his tail? Not necessarily, but perhaps somebody. But I believe that before the frontman can really deduce that Batman is after him, Batman's already ready to enact his plan.
And also I'm sitting here thinking about how clever he actually is, right? Because he found the tracking device in his tooth, which might be just be standard screening that they do for their contestants, you know what I mean? But then we got to think about, the booby traps on the islands and everything. So there's also that, right? Kind of leading Batman to an island that he thinks the game is, because all the evidence points there just for it not to be there.
However, if the frontman does find out Batman is onto him, he can definitely set up a trap for Batman, probably try to kill Batman immediately. The frontman seems like a no talk, just kill a threat kind of villain. He would not talk to Batman, he would just eliminate the threat, so that could be a potential plot point here that could blockade Batman. But yes, if that's not the case, Batman would just fully enact his plan. And I think this can go a lot of ways. But I think it would be awesome if Batman just went full on brawl mode, full on all out assault and take out all these guards. I think a perfect way of going about it would be him shutting down all the lights, work in the shadows so that they can't see but Batman can.
The
And he
cool
starts
thing.
picking off soldiers in the shadows while the other guys are freaking out. I can see like they turn the lights back on after some time, but at that point a lot of them are taken out.
This is kind of OP right here. This solar thing, using their phones and everything to act as a. This is like super OP.
I think Batman would start fighting these soldiers head on, doing Batman things, just fighting them using gadgets. Maybe with the prep time, he planted non lethal explosives around. Maybe put knockout gas where they sleep. All these different ways of taking out chunks of these guys. Because remember, there's a lot of these soldiers. So even though Batman is leagues ahead of them in terms of fighting prowess, they all got guns, man. And there's a lot of them. So I think Batman would do all he can to thin out the herd as best as he can. After taking out these pink jumpsuit guys, Batman would also take out all the other possible threats like the second in command guy and stuff like that. And after he does that, he goes after the frontman. Now, him going after the frontman could be a really interesting storyline. I think Batman would want to talk to the frontman and ask him why he's doing this and hurting all these people. It could be a really great exchange of dialogue. The frontman could explain to Batman how much money can change people and make them do things they would never do normally, and how society has failed them, and that what he's doing here isn't really any worse than setting them free since they'll die either way kind of thing. I think that's a really unique thing the frontman could have with Batman, because Bruce is rich, but his money never corrupted him, but Bruce never came from poverty or had to be in those kind of situations. I think Batman would actually understand the frontman's point of view, but also still know that what he's doing is evil and wrong. Could the frontman have some sort of final last resort tactic against Batman? Yeah, possibly. Maybe some sort of self-destruct button on the island. I could see that.
I know, you know what I can also see is his absolute plan would be just kind of like self-termination. You know what I mean? Like if I'm going to go, I'm going to take you with me and everything. I wouldn't be surprised if he got something like that, like some hidden blades or something, or poison or something like that. But knowing Batman, that's just the thing about prep time. That's the interesting. That's what makes these type of theories interesting, because it's just like, well, he's usually well equipped, right? He had a whole entire plan against the Justice League. I forgot what that movie was, where he had a plan for everybody just in case they went evil, went turbo.
Whatever it is, though, I think Batman would survive because it is a superhero generic story, and this theoretical writer would have Batman survive too, I guess. But yeah, let's just say he doesn't have any final plan, and Batman just knocks out and defeats the frontman. I think Batman would then send the evidence to the police so they can see and gather all the proof information they need. Batman would save all these contestants, but then there's the aftermath. There would be aftermath. I mean, Batman realizes that some of these contestants might also be kind of evil and malicious. They went in debt with some crooks, but there's also innocent people in the mix as well. I think Bruce Wayne would use his wealth and maybe send all these people money unanimously. Like, just put it at their front door to cover their costs, and maybe set up systems around the South Korea area to help future people that are in this much debt. I think Bruce might have a different perspective on just how much money can put people in dangerous positions after the Squid Game events, and might put a bigger emphasis on that for himself. I can also see Batman having potential conversations with people like Gion.
The only thing about that theory right there is that, maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't, right? Because these people have these money troubles for various amount of reasons, but he probably has to be selective in who he gives the money to, right? Because some of these people might take that generous offer and just put themselves more further in debt. So I don't know, because I feel like to better help them, you'll probably have to analyze why they're in the trouble they were to begin with. Because I feel like even if some of them own like a ton of money to like some loan sharks, and he paid off that loan shark, told them leave it alone, that person would just go again. And hopefully, you would hope they would learn their lesson, but then they would just go again and get into the same mistake, and then look for some type of out or whatnot, which would then further reinforce the front man saying that they were going to be unalived anyways. You know what I mean? So, but that is interesting.
Tell him he understands how he's feeling about the loss of his friends and tries to give him closure. Not just him, though. Exposing the Squid Games would also mean that everyone whose loved ones were involved and died are now revealed to have been killed and where they were. Batman may go to some of these people to let them know. And not just that, But those also probably lead to other people involved in the games, past frontmans, people who helped build the Squid Game operation on the island, so many people that Batman would likely go after and bring them to justice. It wouldn't be a happy ending, I'd say, with how much the games have ended lives, and for Batman, maybe he would start to have a different perspective on how crazy money and power can get after talking to the frontman. Like, there could be different ideologies that come out of this, and that could be really interesting. But I do believe Batman would stop the Squid Games, give closure to everyone involved, and go after everyone that was involved, so that way the Squid Games are never likely to happen.
I don't think he'll give closure to everybody that was involved. But interesting thing about is him saying going after all the people involved. I wonder if he'll go after the spectators, right? Because there were spectators, right? People who were, and for the most part, the front man was serving somebody else, right? There's got to be somebody that's funding all of that, like where all that money come from. So that's just a start, right? He takes down the front. You got to go see who was above all that, who was funding it.
Again. But that is how I think it would go if Batman were in the Squid Game universe. Honestly, it might be predictable the way I discussed it, but like, how else would it really go, right? I mean, there could be different ideas. Like, what if Bruce Wayne entered the games, or what if the frontman knew Batman was on his trail, right? It's all theoretical at the end of the day. It's hard to make a comic universe and a non-comic universe mesh to make sense
Right.
sometimes, but I hope you enjoyed my interpretation. Let me know what you think, and if you did, let me know your ideas. Let me know if mine sucked or was good, but also make sure to like the video, share it, follow me on Twitter, and I hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you in the next video.
Very interesting theory. Now, I don't know if this is like stuff that you do. Oh, I know you could Gotham Paladin, but you just make a bunch of stuff. Let me see. You got very interesting. This is some interesting stuff, right? I like watching commentary and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, some of it can kind of feel kind of stale. People not really taking like leaps, and maybe it's because of the thought process. Maybe it's something that you don't think that your current audience would like, but this was an absolutely amazing video. Very interesting theory. I'm going to be thinking about it for a while. You guys let me know how you think will go down in the comments, and make sure to go show some original video some love. If you do, say, what do you do, baby? Dave's out.